You're listening to Central Illinois Business, brought to you by Shelby Motors, your local Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram dealer since 1942. My guest this morning, David Campbell. David, welcome to the show.
Alex, it's great to be here with you.
Well, I am so excited. I've been so looking forward to this. As you know, we know each other. We've met in our various travels, and I'm very fascinated with your business. Why don't you tell folks what it is that you do, who you are, and what you do?
Well, Alex, these days I am really looking to the marketplace and trying to find a way to be an entrepreneur in the real estate industry, and it can be pretty challenging out there. You know, my background is in real estate brokerage, working with investors, and in home building. And right now, it's pretty challenging to be a home builder in this environment, but we've found some pretty creative ways to be thriving in a down economy.
Well, that's what's so fascinating about what you do, because you found some niches that seem to really work. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, Alex, I am very passionate about our business and what we're doing right now, because I see a lot of families suffering out there at the job market, and one of my passions right now is increasing employment. You know, if everyone just took care of their little piece of the world and did their job, increasing the number of jobs in the economy, that would heal our country overnight.
I believe that.
If every business went out there and just hired one or two more people, we'd be out of the recession overnight. And so I'm doing everything I can as a business owner to go out there and hire and find opportunities for people to gain, you know, full employment again.
I just had somebody on the show, and there's a gentleman that owns a sign company, and he employs 10 people. And I told him, I said, you know what? I said, you may not realize this. I said, but you are one of my heroes. And he looked at me so strange, and I said, because you are providing jobs, and every one of these little companies that has 10 people, 15 people working for them makes a huge difference. And people don't realize is that small entrepreneurial companies are generating more jobs in this economy than any other segment of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ways that we get our competitive advantage in the marketplace is to have a very diversified labor team. I really believe in having virtual companies and employing the people that are best suited for the job regardless of where they live. And so, you know, I've got employees in Northern California and Southern California, in Virginia, in Texas, in New Jersey, New York, really bringing together a team virtually using the Internet and phone. And it's amazing how much you can get done in a short amount of time without having a physical office building to go to.
Well, I think that's one of the things that the new economy will see more and more of is this virtual companies and virtual employment, because it's so easy to do today. I mean, you can be talking about a property in Carolina, and the owner can be in Florida, and the buyer can be from New York, and you're still working together.
Absolutely. And I also, one of our core pillars of our company is being eco-friendly, being environmentally friendly. As a home builder, a lot of people would immediately say, oh, well, you must be doing solar, and you must be doing, sustainable rainforest woods and things like that. And I really, when I look at it very simply, the very fact that all of our key employees, from an administrative standpoint, we all work from home. Mm-hmm. Well, that's how many miles not driven, how much oil was saved by us, not commuting to a job. But
how many pounds of greenhouse gases saved from driving back and forth to the office?
Absolutely. When we can all dial onto the World Wide Web and be in the same room together, that's a very green technology that a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. The other great thing about being geographically diverse is we don't look to the local marketplace to bring us a buyer, because we love making sales to owner-occupants, but in this economy we're seeing a huge trend where the rate of home ownership is declining. The population is growing, but home ownership is declining. So people need a place to live. They still want to live in houses, but they're either unable or unwilling to buy them at this point in the market cycle. so we're building single-family homes for rental. So we provide a great, valuable service in areas of the country where population is growing, jobs are booming, but where our buyers come from all over the globe. We've got buyers, investor buyers from virtually every region of the country, plus Europe and Canada and Asia. People really are looking to the United States and seeing that investment real estate is on sale right now.
Oh, absolutely. It's like America on sale if you go out in the real estate market. I'm in the real estate business, as you know, and I can speak to that one. Well, that's interesting. Now, a question that occurs in my mind as you say that is how do you make that work? Because it seems like it would be easier to buy existing homes and rent them out than it is to build new and rent out because of the negative cash flow potential, because maybe rents aren't equal to mortgage rates or something. I don't know. How do you work through all that?
Yeah, it's the idea that you could buy something from Walmart or you could buy something from Tiffany's. And obviously at Walmart it's going to be cheaper, but you have to say, do you always want the cheapest item? And for us, we really believe that the most important thing an investor can have is a strong team. And if you start with a great advisory team who's going to help you create a personal investment philosophy, put your investment strategies together, and then to support you through the logistics, everything from your financing through your insurance, your asset protection strategies, your estate planning, your property management, and there's so many different components that go into being a successful real estate investor that are much, much more important than the house you buy. So we say team first. The second is we say marketplace second. So we want to make sure that our investors live where they want to live, but they invest where the numbers make sense. And so you might live in a very beautiful part of the world, but you look around locally and you say, I don't really see the cash flow, or I don't see the population and job trends that make this a prudent investment, 10 or 20 years from now. So you might very well say, let me go look elsewhere in the country where those demographics might be stronger. So we think team first, market second, and the third thing we look at is the product, the house itself. And so when you're trying to say, do I want to buy, some really discounted price, or do I want to go with a great team, great market, and great terms? Because as a home builder, we are able to structure some special financing terms that are not necessarily available in the general market at whole.
Well, that's interesting. How do you do that?
Well, that's a pretty involved process where we can bring some private investor capital to be able to help investors get some lower interest rates, some higher loan-to-value specifically for our investors. And the other thing on a product side that is very, very important is you could buy an older house that's cheaper or buy a newer house, or a brand new house. And I really think when you look at the operating costs of an older house compared to a newer house, that the new house is going to radically outperform. Even if you pay more for the house, when you look at the operating costs, the savings on your replacement things, the fact that you probably have a more energy-efficient design so that your utility costs are lower. You've got a floor plan that's more modern and appeals to a wider part of the market segment. Those all things contribute to you being able to get a premium rent for your house than something even a block away that's 10 or 15 years old.
Well, that's a really good point. That's a really good point, because what people care about, especially if they're renting, is not so much what the rent is, but what the total cost is. If they're renting and they're paying $700 a month in rent, but they're paying $300 a month in utilities, then their total cost is $1,000 a month. So you could actually, if you had a nicer home, you could charge them $800 a month rent. If their utilities are only $200 because of the energy efficient design, now their total cost is the same. You're getting more rent to cover a new construction, and they're getting a brand new product, and yet their total cost is the same.
You got it. The other thing we do as a builder is we know who our end customer is, and it's usually an investor and a tenant. And so we build the home very differently with a very different mindset. So we're going to choose very durable materials. For example, we like to put in all of our common area, living areas and our wet areas and our hallways, we like to do stained concrete. And that's typically a product reserved for higher-end homes. You know, it's a very classy product. But for a real estate investor, it's a very durable product, and that should last forever. It should last the owner's entire ownership of the property. They should never have to replace that flooring.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Of course, you'd probably spend a little bit more up front, but in terms of maintenance, cost, and those kinds of things, that would be much more manageable.
Yeah, and because we're looking for places where we want to invest extra money and find areas where the money is less important to spend, we're creating a very very appealing opportunity for investors. You know, for example, whether your garage is 20 feet by 20 feet or whether it's 20 feet by 19 feet, you know, an investor is going to pay the same amount of rent, or a tenant is going to pay the same amount of rent regardless of what the dimension of your garage is. Mm-hmm. But if we can shave, 1 foot off the size of your garage, that can add up to, $1,000 of savings at the end of the day for the person who buys the home.
This is really interesting. I want to explore more of this and how you think, because you're bringing a whole new approach to this idea of home building. I can't believe it, but it is time for our first break. But can we pick up on that thought when we come back?
Sounds great.
All right. We are talking with David Campbell. We'll be right back after the break. We are back. Thanks for staying with us through the break. You're listening to Central Illinois Business, brought to you by Shelby Motors. And my guest today, David Campbell with Sibelius Homes. And we are talking about a whole new approach to building homes. And just before the break, we were talking about how the whole perspective of the way you approach the home building, and this is why I wanted to have you on the show, because it's so entrepreneurial what you're doing, because we know that so many home builders have been suffering through the last 2-3 years of this recession, and yet you found ways to build homes for people, quality homes, and not only survive in the market, but even thrive in the market. And you said some things that were interesting to me. One, you said, we start with the team. We don't start with the house. We start with the team that supports the investors and brings the capital together. And then the second thing is the market. That's more important than even the house. And then the third thing is the house, in that order. And I just thought that was really conscious raising on my part. And then you talked about the house and how building it in a way that has a longer-term approach that would appeal not only to the folks that are living there, but also to the investors themselves. So maybe we can pick up on that, because I kind of cut you off just before the break.
Yeah, I started out buying cheap houses because I thought that was the way to go.
Right.
And the very first time I had to replace a sewer line, replace the plumbing, and replace the electric wiring, I thought, I did not add any perceived value to this house. The tenant living here is not going to be any happier because I changed the underground sewer line. Yet that was $4,000 or $5,000 out of my pocket.
Wow.
That had to come purely from my cash. I couldn't even leverage it. I couldn't even get bank financing on that repair. So I really shifted my strategy to say, as an investor, I want to own exclusively new houses that come with a 10-year builder warranty. And what that does is it really reduces my exposure to risk. First of all, I'm going to pay a little bit more, but I'm going to be able to finance all of those things. So you could buy an old house with, say, 20% down, but then once you start replacing the water heater, and you're going to start replacing your roofing, and you're going to have to do all kinds of fencing replacement, things that have an 8 to 10 year replacement cycle on a home. If you bought an 8-year-old home, you're going to have to start replacing all of those things right away. And all of those things come out of your cash investment rather than, hey, let me just buy everything new and finance it. So when you compare apples to apples and you look at your pure return on investment, what am I earning as a return for the cash invested? It's almost in every situation better to start with a newer product. And that's especially true if the product is reverse engineered from the standpoint of an investor is going to own it. And what we do as a company is we start with the rental rate in an area, and we can say, so a home between 1,500 and 1,600 square feet is going to rent for, let's say, 85 cents per square foot per month. And then I want to take that and say, well, if it's going to rent for 85 cents a square foot, I can't sell it for any more than $85 a square foot because I want to get that 1% of the purchase price per month as a rent-to-purchase ratio. Then I take that $85 a square foot, and then I just reverse engineer the house. And I say, I've got a budget, and what am I going to put in this house that stays under that threshold? Something like kitchens. Kitchens sell a home, so we're going to spend a lot of money on beautiful cabinets and beautiful countertops, and we're going to spend money on durable floors because that's something an investor wants. But, for example, architecture. We'll go into a community, and we might build 1 or 2 floor plans and just mirror image them and change up the exteriors. Well, what that does is you might spend ordinarily $1,000 per house on architecture fees, but if we build the same house, 100 times, we spent that architecture fee one time. And from the community's perspective, all the houses look different on the outside, and when you go inside, nobody knows or cares that they're all the same on the inside.
Wow,
that's the other thing that does is it gives us buying efficiency. We might have 2 floor plans in a community, but we've designed all of our kitchens and all of our baths to have this exact same cabinet and countertop measurements. So we can go directly to a manufacturer and say, would you give us volume pricing on our cabinets and our countertops because we're buying the exact same model 100 times a year, versus if we had to custom change every single order, we couldn't get that volume pricing.
Wow, that's
all
great.
of those things drive our costs down as a builder, and then we can pass that savings on to our customer, who then it makes sense as a rental product for them. In a traditional home building environment, the customer would come in and say, well, I would like it green, and I would like this yellow, and could you move this wall here and move that wall there? And that's important if you are going to be the homeowner living in it and you're building the home of your dreams. But if it's an investment, you just want to know that it's a floor plan that's proven to work and attract a good rent. And if it's exactly the same inside all throughout the neighborhood, that's actually a benefit to you because it makes the rental comps more homogeneous, and it allows your property manager to do a better job of servicing your home. If all of the paint in all of the homes is the exact same color of beige, then when your tenant moves out and the next person comes in, the property manager's got that paint in his truck because it's the same paint in every single house.
Right. Well, these are simple things, but added together really have a large effect.
Absolutely. We're trying to create an opportunity for the average person in America who is afraid of the stock market, they don't know where to put their money, that they can get into the real estate game. And we're providing a great support team, some great investor training. We're giving them a great product that in many ways is built to act like an apartment building, but without the person having to invest millions of dollars to become an apartment building owner.
Well, the nice thing about single-family homes, too, I mean, if you own 10 of those and you need a little cash because your son's going to college or something, you can just carve off and sell one. But if you own an apartment building, I mean, it's just you have to sell the whole investment.
Yeah, and I also think right now we're in an economy where people aren't buying houses, but at some point in the future, that trend's going to change, where people are going to decide, I'm done being a renter, my credit is healed, and my job is stable, and I've got consumer confidence. Let me just go buy the same house that I'm living in. So as an investor owning a single-family home, you've got multiple outcomes. You could own you could sell it to another investor, or you could sell it to an occupant who might pay you a premium in the future.
Well, and you know what's really so great about what I hear you saying is that in the future, those are the houses that are going to be in demand. The smaller, more efficient home. I saw in our recent history here a big pendulum swing towards these big palatial homes out on the lake, and people, hundreds of thousands of dollars for these things, and they're just, I think of that Jackson Brown, a line from that song, you're lost inside your houses. There's no one to find you now, from Rock Me on the Water. And as the baby boomer generation, kind of moves through this, and then the younger people, the houses that are going to be in demand are these smaller, more efficient homes, not the big McMansions as they were building 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, our favorite price point is a $120,000 house that rents for $1,200 a month, where two people who are making minimum wage can afford that rent.
That is awesome, David. That is really an incredible formula. Yeah, I did the math while you were talking, and I did the 85 cents a square foot times 1,500, and it comes out to $1,275. But now, can you pay the taxes, the insurance, and still make a return on your investment?
That's another key thing. Before we go into a community and decide to build houses there, we've got to run the math backwards to see that our clients are positive cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Well, one advantage you may have in this market is you're probably getting land cheaper than maybe in the past.
Many cases I'm able to buy finished lots, meaning the dirt with the streets and the utilities to the site. I'm able to buy that for less than what it cost to put the improvements in originally.
That's incredible.
And so that is a huge savings that we then pass along to our client, because we didn't pay very much for the land, and so our clients don't have to pay very much for the house.
Well, so investors, you say, come to you from all over the world. How do people say if they want to find out more about this program of yours? How do they go about doing that? Yeah,
I've got a website called TradeUp.net. TradeUp.net, and I write a newsletter with content packed. We don't spam. It's just pure content for real estate investors who are interested in becoming, as we call, a hassle-free cash flow investor. And they can sign up for our newsletter right on our website. I've also got 2 ebooks that are free that your listeners can download. You can go to our website and click on the education section, and you can find the ebooks. One ebook is called Hassle-Free Cashflow Investing, and the other is called Hassle-Free Cashflow Lending. Some people really like to own the property, and some people prefer to be the bank, and both of those books are designed to give people some really great ideas on how to become a real estate investor, or if you already are a real estate investor, how to refine your strategy to be more successful, more profitable with less hassle.
Wow, this is great stuff. I can't believe we're just about out of time. Is there anything I was supposed to ask that you wanted to say?
Well, something I do, Alex, for we can do for your listeners. I offer a free investment strategy consultation. As a real estate developer and broker, I've done over $800 million of real estate transactions, and I am happy to give my time to your listeners to just listen to their story and see if there's something that I can add value to their world to help them see things a little bit differently, if they're trying to reposition their assets, or if they're trying to get into the game of real estate, or if there's a seasoned investor and they have a problem property. All of those things would be great things for us to talk about. And the best thing is just send an email to David@tradeup.net, David@tradeup.net, and we'll just schedule a time to talk on the phone. And again, it's a free call, and I'm happy to see what I can do to help your listeners.
Well, fantastic, and that's about all we have time for. David, thank you so much. We've been talking with David Campbell from Sibelius Builders, and give us that email address one more time.
Yeah, David@tradeup.net.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for joining us today. You've been listening to Central Illinois Business.